Okay, I'm live. So everyone, I'll just keep a list of things I'll cover this time. Maybe just some news on how a few things have got updated. Just while working on coding this thing up, just inevitably you start itching for certain creature comforts. Oh, I haven't even started Seymour up. Sorry, I'll at least start that up. Yeah, how to put this? Well, first I'll start up Zemu. I mean, when I started out, like most of my games were pretty small and simple games written purely in Basic 65. Yeah, actually, I might as well just go through that sort of, if it's easy. Uh, is it easy to see my past? Maybe on my past channel games, videos. So if we go back to the early stuff, probably that was the earliest game, the Momo game. Uh, um, Yeah, it was really dirt simple. Um, Written in Commodore, sorry, yeah, Basic 65. Very simple controls, just press 1, 2, 3. And Poopy was a bit more sophisticated. You could move the character left and right. Some effort was made on a flashy title screen and some characters moving. So yeah, and again that was Basic 65 too. But yeah, a sort of a level up in sophistication. The code gets bigger, more variables to keep into your head. What came after Battle Sparrow? Yeah, that was another step up. This was sort of like, sorry, can I mute my mic because I'm gonna cough. Sorry. Um, yeah, this was exploring DMA, and again, but was again just Basic 65, raw Basic 65. I hadn't jumped to 11 at that point, but yeah, this was when the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Where, wow, this game's starting to get a bit too big, a bit too many variables, a bit too many go subs here and there, and it's hard to keep it all in my head. I think at this point I felt like yeah, it's time to switch to 11. And so beyond that point, yeah, I think things became very 11 based. This one was basically the VART tool. Yeah, that's all 11. Um, oh yeah, and Onion Cake. Yeah, that's all 11 too. And yeah, and this game is proving to be 11 as well. Um, but I think along that journey, I started craving adding. The more you use a tool, the more you wish it could do a few extra bells and whistles. So yeah, I think a few extra things were added to 11 along the way of this journey. Yeah, it's happened again with this game as well. So maybe if I can just clarify what those things are. Okay, let's just jump into. Uh, I've run this at the 200 megahertz thing. So mount 11 again. Let's boot into it. I think I've been dwelling more on the grabber tool lately, so I'll just open up F1 grabber.el and yeah, one thing. Let's say I'll do a few page downs with Alt down, Alt down, Alt down, Alt down. When you're in the code, sort of browsing around, maybe you're in a certain point of the code and you just want to look somewhere else. And yeah, F7 is a great key for that. So F7 gets this nice list of labels. But in the past, F7 would just sort of automatically just go to the start of this list. So that's one recent improvement was that F7 is now a bit smarter. It'll look for what's the closest label nearby. So when you press F7, it'll highlight that one in the list. Just in case maybe you know where you are and you know the thing you're interested in is a few routines up or a few routines down. So maybe that can sort of help you navigate there quickly. So let's say maybe, all right, we want to go to draw char here. Okay, we're in draw char now. So the next improvement was I added Control O to jump back to where you were before prior to doing this F7 jump. So if I do Control O, it's taking me back to where my pointer was before, which I can't really remember. It looks like it was in show coordinates. And the thing is, I can press Control O again to jump back to the other place I was. So it kind of, for now, it toggles between the two of them. Whether that's ideal or not, I don't know. Maybe over time we might want like a history of past positions and jumping back and forth between all of them. So yeah, control control to location. So yeah, I found that handy. When do I find it handy? I think sometimes like when I'm working in the code, like a certain line, and oops, I do that a lot. Um, and maybe there's some sort of variable or some sort of define here key left, and I'm curious where that is. So then, all right, I want to go to F7. I know it's sort of declared somewhere, so maybe it's in the declares here. So maybe I can find, yeah, there's all this key up, key down. Okay, here it is, and I want to know, oh, okay, it equals to this thing over here. But then once I've done that, I want to go back to where I was, so that's the kind of occasion I'll press Control O and I'll go back to here and okay, key left and that's it. Yeah, so yeah, that's handy. Oh, and the help page itself, that's been updated. It was missing a few things, and maybe it's a good time to remind, like if you're using Zemu and you're wondering how do I hit the help key on in the emulator, I believe it's page up key. When you do page up key in Zemu, you'll get the same as hitting the help key. Um, so yeah, it's a bit more fleshed out now. A lot of the original ones are there and a few additions at the end. Um, a lot of the new escape ones, to go to the start of a line, end of a line, escape J, escape. Those were kind of mimicking the basic 65 one, escape, sorry, Control W to move to the next word or Control U to move previous word. And some of my recent ones as well, Alt P to post to the M65 postbox tool, that's in there too. The marking, for copy paste, that's it. Escape M, X to cut, C to copy, Escape P to paste the contents back. I've also added Zemu shortcut keys. Jumping in here in Zemu, some of these are awkward keys to press, like F9. If you try to press F9 in Zemu, it thinks you're exiting Zemu, so you don't want that to happen. So I put some alternatives. Wherever you see like a reverse hash, I put an alternative. Instead of F9, you can do Control P. Or maybe F11 toggle control mode. You can't do that in Zemu because F11 goes to full screen in Zemu, and so instead you can do Control Z sorry, Control 5 to go control mode. Update defaults is another tricky one, F14. Yeah, so that's control. Yeah, and so on. Just want to highlight that as well. So I'll exit this. So you just press a key, I think, to exit this. So I've mentioned 11 help. Oh yeah, and another one is during the F7, I started to get, when your program gets bigger, it's going to have lots of labels, and sometimes it can be hard to find the label you want in all of this. So maybe I'll go a bit full screen for this one. But maybe I recall that the label I'm interested had something to do with user input. So now there's this filter thing at the bottom. If I start typing in letters, I tap the letter I, it filters out, only the, filters in only the labels with the letter I. If I start typing out the word input, letter N, it gets smaller. Anything with IN in it, INP, only two now. So maybe I can pick the one I'm interested to hear a bit easier. So, I can press F7 again. Maybe I'm interested in reading something to do with reading a character. So CHAR, oops, CHAR. So yeah, all right, draw character, yeah, and that sort of thing. So I thought that's a nice handy one to have to jump around a bit quicker. Um, oh, and now that I've got more files I'm sort of jumping in and out of, it gets a bit annoying sometimes to have to always press F1, go into one bit of code, maybe read something and want to go back to the other bit of code. So now I've got F8 key, we'll jump to the previous file. So now foot.l, and if I press F8, it's going to jump to the grabber.l file instead. And if I could press F8 again, it's back to foot.l. And mind you, it tries to preserve the previous cursor position too. So as you jump from one to the other, it tries to recall where you were before as well. Hopefully that helps. I mean, for me, it's coming about sometimes when I want to read something in another file as a reference and quickly jump back to where I was, or maybe I want to copy paste something from a previous project and I want to jump back to where I was and quickly paste it there. So yeah, that's how that came about. Um, I mean, there's also other, you start getting more itches. Like it would be nice to have like another shortcut key. I don't know, maybe control bracket or something to, let's say you go on a GoSub and maybe you want to navigate straight to that GoSub. I won't do that right now, but maybe in future that can be a stream we can try and do that together. So you see how do I edit the 11 source and add a new convenience in just in case others want to do something similar in the future as well. Um, so that was which topic? You've done F7, F8. Okay, now we can dive into the grabber tool. Yeah, this grabber tool has been a bit of a pain in the neck. It's hard to evolve tooling. It's a bit of a time drain, but yeah, some things were that previously. Maybe I'll go full screen for this to get more of the details out. I'm trying to add more documentation in, which keys do what. But this part I start to talk about the file format I'm trying to save. In F1 will load a file, F3 will save a data file. And things of interest now, things that I've added since the previous file format were, I put some size of the data, like all the frames ahead, as a word. I did that because I'm planning to break this out into several files soon, like a duck data blob, or, a player data blob and a layers of the scenery data blob. And if I want to load them up from separate files, maybe it might be nice to keep some size information so that I can put them, side by side in memory. So that's where that's coming from. Yeah, number of frames here is yet the number of frames in this set. And then I start defining each frame one by one. So the X position, Y position, the width of and height. And this is the new stuff that's been added that wasn't there before. The head box, which has a X and Y position for the start of the box and XY position for the end of the box. So a box for the head, the torso, and the feet, and also an attack box to say what's the attacking, like the fist or something that can hit another player. And the other stuff was there before, the character data for this field. I should say width and height really, but anyway, yeah, that's a mistake. That should say width times height. But yeah, and then once I define one frame with that in the data structure, then it comes frame 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever until it ends. So that was one thing. And I also had another file format which is just the color only, which is just like, and that's to save out with the F5 key. That was just an optimization where it has the same details, except instead of the character data and the color data, it just has the color data. So that's the distinction there. And I'll be using that in the final game because it's well, it halves the size of the data, which is terrific, and I can add more data. Um, so that's that. Where was I getting at with this? Um, yeah, so yeah, that data structure had to be devised to house these hitboxes. So now each frame can have its own set of hitboxes. And yeah, maybe we can play around with this now. So I'll press F5 to build this. Hopefully it's still built. Okay. Even this tool's getting bigger. Okay, I'll just press F1 to load up the layers.bin file. And I'll press, I guess, C to redraw the current one. And I use the equals key to move along to the next frame equally. I probably should add the plus key too, but I'm just a bit lazy. And maybe I'll dwell on this one, the first player frame. So I'll press F7 to jump in this sort of hitbox editing mode. So I'm using the up and down keys here to decide which hitbox I want to edit, the head, torso, feet, or the attack. So let's say I want to edit the head, I'll press enter key. Now I've got a cursor control with the cursor keys. Maybe I'll press return here, and then I'll move the cursor keys a bit more to cover the head, and then I'll press return again. And so I've got my hitbox defined there for the head. I can do the same for the torso, so I'll press return here, and I'll bring the cursor down, return again, and maybe make it, I don't know, should I make it there? Yeah. Okay, so then the feet, bring the cursors down again, return, and return again. And so yeah, it'll be rinse and repeat. So if I push equals to get to the next frame, I'd be doing the same thing there. I'd be defining a head. I'd be defining the torso. Yeah, that'll do. I mean, I can always edit this later if it's wrong, but just to get things underway. So yeah, I can maybe go minus key and forward key. Maybe I made those a little different, but yeah, should be able to edit that again. Maybe I'll make it there and there, and then make that one lower. Yeah, maybe that's better. So minus plus. So yeah, it'll be going through each of those frames and doing them one by one like that. As for why we want to do that, maybe it's not essential, but if you want that sort of sophistication where, let's say, the baddie punches the head box, then maybe you want to switch to, a different animation of the head rolling back, or if the baddie gets punched, the player gets punched in the stomach area, maybe you have a different animation to be punched in the stomach. Maybe if the player gets hit at the feet, you'd want him to fall over, that sort of thing. So you can add different reactions based on which hitbox gets hit. And as for the attack one, as he's throwing a punch, this goes out. So maybe you want to define an attack bounding box there, the hitbox there. So what you're trying to say there is if this attack box hits the other player in any of his boxes, yeah, we consider that to be a direct hit, and so react accordingly. So that's what's going on with the attack box. So yeah, where it's at right now with this, I can edit it, but I can't really save it. So that's what's coming up next. I don't think I'll braid that tonight, but because I know it's going to be painful and a lot of iteration and getting things wrong and saving out the wrong things and breaking things. But yeah, once that's done, it's not the end of the story either. Then I've got to load up that data into the game itself. So, but as for is it worth doing this? I mean, prior to this, I was if you look at like say the, the code for the foot game, um, I was doing a lot of hard coding of things. Oops, actually I can't find what I wanted to point out. Yeah, all these animations and things like that. I mean, you could potentially, hard code rectangles like this inside your code too. And if you're making like a simple game with limited resources, it probably is easy to do that and not invest so much time into tooling. I think the only time you'd go all full speed ahead with tooling is where maybe the resources get a little bit overwhelming and you feel like you don't want to do this again and again with so many resources. So yeah, it's more of a resource management thing when resources get a bit out of hand and you feel like I can't do this with the hard coding anymore. So yeah, I mean, if you're not making a game with that much resource, yeah, I wouldn't do tooling. It just sucks up a lot of energy. Uh, but yeah, maybe I'll leave it at that for now. And yeah, we can carry on yeah, at some other time. Okay, so ending the stream. Oh, that's a bit tricky this time. I've navigated away. Okay, bye for now.